Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a really big topic, one that's absolutely crucial for your upcoming exams, the global comeback of industrial policy. We're going to explore how governments, from the US to China to India, are taking a much more active role in steering their economies.
Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We'll start by unpacking the core concept of the state's visible hand. Then we'll dive into three major case studies: America, China, and of course, India. After that, we'll pull it all together and finish with a super focused summary of key takeaways, just for your exams. Let's get right into it.
So, let's kick things off by really getting a grip on this fundamental shift that's happening across the globe. For the longest time, the world economy played by a certain set of rules. But now, it feels like a whole new playbook is being written, and if you're going to succeed, you've got to understand it.
You've probably all heard of Adam Smith's invisible hand, right? The idea that the market, left to its own devices, will magically create the most efficient outcome. That's been the dominant idea for decades. But what we're seeing now is a huge pivot, a shift to the visible hand of the state. Here, the government steps in, and the top priorities change from just efficiency to things like resilience and self-sufficiency.
So what exactly is this industrial policy that everyone's buzzing about? This is a term you absolutely have to know for your exam. Put simply, it's when the government isn't just a referee, but an active player. It uses its whole toolkit, we're talking subsidies, tariffs, regulations, to deliberately pick and boost specific industries that it sees as being strategically vital for the nation's future.
All right, let's jump into our first case study, and it's a big one. We're talking about the United States. You know, the traditional champion of free market capitalism. But believe me, the tune they're singing over there is changing, and fast.
This timeline, wow, it tells a heck of a story, doesn't it? Back in the Reagan eras, it was all about free markets and less government. Then, bam, the 2008 financial crisis hits, and the government is forced to step in, but more as a firefighter. But look at what's happening now. It's a whole different ballgame. We're seeing proactive, strategic industrial policy from the Biden administration, and even a more direct, company-by-company interventionist style from Trump.
And if you want to understand the sheer scale of this change, just look at this number. $53 billion. That's with a B. That's what the CHIPS Act alone is putting on the table. This isn't just a small policy tweak. It's a monumental investment by the government aimed squarely at rebuilding America's semiconductor industry, which they now see as a matter of national security.
And this, right here, leads to a massive question. The kind of question that's perfect for an essay. Who's really calling the shots for major corporations now? Is it still the shareholders who are laser-focused on maximizing profits? Or is it the White House, pushing its own strategic national priorities? This is the new tension at the heart of American capitalism.
Okay, now let's pivot and look at China, because over there, the state's visible hand isn't some new trend. Nope, it's been the defining feature of their economic powerhouse for a long, long time. It's a well-oiled machine. And the numbers, they are just mind-boggling. Get this. According to the IMF, China's state support to its industries is a whopping 4.4% of its entire GDP. Let that sink in for a moment. That level of government backing is on a completely different planet compared to what most other big economies are doing. So how do they do it? What's really cool about this chart is that it breaks it all down for us. It's not just one single thing. You can see direct cash payments and tax breaks are the biggest pieces of the pie, but they're also using cheaper land and subsidized loans to give their companies an edge. It's a multi-front strategy.
Okay, exam takers, pen and paper time. Here's a super simple way to remember these four channels. Just think CTLS for cash, tax, land, and subsidized credit. And if you need a mnemonic to make it stick, how about this? Chinese tech leaders succeed. CTLS. Lock that one away. It could be very useful.
Now here's a key bit of jargon you should definitely know. Neizhuan. It's a Chinese term that describes this super intense, sometimes chaotic internal competition that all this state support can create. Think of it like a race to the bottom. With brutal price wars as companies just scramble over each other, it can get so messy that the government itself has to step in to regulate the competition.
And you know this famous quote from Deng Xiaoping, it just perfectly sums up the whole philosophy. It doesn't matter whether a cat is black or white as long as it catches mice. It's pure pragmatism. Ideology comes second. Whatever gets the job done, whatever achieves the state's goals, that's what they'll do.
All right, so from the US and China, let's bring the conversation home to India. Because India's approach is, well, it's something else entirely. It's a really unique, hybrid strategy that blends different philosophies together.
You see, India is kind of playing two games at once. On one hand, it uses an import substitution model. The goal there is to be protectionist, to shield our domestic companies from foreign competition. But on the other hand, we're also taking a page from the East Asian model, which is all about actively supporting firms, and that includes both domestic and foreign ones, to become powerhouses on the global stage.
So, what's in India's policy toolkit? It's a real mixed bag. You've got your classic tariffs, of course, but also these clever non-tariff barriers, like quality control orders. Then there are the big-ticket items, the direct subsidies, like the huge PLI, or production-linked incentive scheme. And on top of all that, you have individual states getting in on the action, like Gujarat with its own semiconductor policy for the Dalera SIR. It's a multi-layered approach.
And listen to this. Decades after Deng's black cat, white cat quote, we hear this from Prime Minister Modi. It's that same pragmatic spirit, isn't it? The focus isn't so much on where the investment money comes from, but on making sure that the production, the value addition, the sweat happens right here on Indian soil by Indian hands.
Okay, so we've seen three very different models: the American shift, the Chinese machine, and the Indian hybrid. This brings us to the million-dollar question: what is the best path forward, especially for a country like India?
And this really gets to the heart of the debate, the central dilemma for policymakers today. What should the number one priority be? Should it be to build a fortress India, a completely self-sufficient or Atmanirbhar economy in the strictest sense? Or should the focus be on building an Indian economy that is so lean, so efficient, and so competitive that it can take on anyone in the world?
Now, the source material we're drawing from today actually has a pretty strong opinion on this. It concludes that the more prudent path for India is to prioritize efficiency and competitiveness. The argument here is that to truly succeed globally, building industries that can stand on their own 2 feet without protection is the ultimate goal.
And finally, this is it, the slide you've been waiting for. This is your high-yield revision summary. So get ready to hit that screenshot button because this pulls everything we've talked about together into one place.
Okay, let's nail this down for your exams. First, the core concept. The big shift from the invisible hand to the visible hand. For the USA, remember the huge policy shift and those two landmark laws, the CHIPS Act and the IRA. For China, the magic number is 4.4% of GDP, and your mnemonic is CTLS. And don't forget the jargon, Nizjan. For India, the key word is hybrid approach, mixing protectionism with a push for global competition. Remember that philosophical link between Deng and Modi, both emphasizing pragmatism? And finally, the big recommendation. For India, the suggested focus is on efficiency and competitiveness. Got it? This slide is pure gold for your revision.
And we'll leave you with this final thought to ponder. As governments everywhere get more involved in their economies, what does this mean for the future of global trade and diplomacy? What new kinds of partnerships and what new kinds of rivalries will we see in the years ahead? That's definitely something to think about. That's all for this explainer. Good luck with your exams.